It is Thanksgiving weekend, and the talk is called Thank God, which kind of ties all of that spiritual and Thanksgiving stuff all together. And as was mentioned during the sharing, there's always the opportunity when we get together with, how is it described? Dysfunctional alcoholic family members to experience something that is somewhat less than uplifting and rejoiceful. And it's also possible to have that experience fit together in joyous delight and wonder. Our friend Adam Webb has that great song, Bring Love to the Fight. And it's about being that place of love that we can. But I want to talk a little bit more about the actual mechanical parts of Thanksgiving, the gratitude piece, because gratitude is something that you can actually feel. It is something that you can feel in your body. It is a step in practical prayer, and it is also something that you can feel. And it's the only step in practical prayer that has a holiday named after it. I mean, there are, all the holidays are about the stuff that we're praying for anyway. What I'd like you to do for just a second, though, close your eyes if you're comfortable doing that. And just find where in your body you feel gratitude. Where do you feel that feeling of thankfulness? For some people, it's in our heart. Something touches our heart. We feel it right there in the middle of our chest. For other people, it's in our gut. Something that really is resonating deep down within us. Sometimes we feel a little choked up. It's in our throat. As we're just feeling that deep feeling of thanks. Sometimes it's behind our eyes. Wherever that feeling of gratitude is for you, just notice it. Just notice it and anchor that. And remember that that's where you feel gratitude. Because gratitude is a feeling and experience that we can have, that we can cultivate. And that's one of the things that we're going to be doing today. So go ahead and bring yourself back into the world. You're going to do that. There are wonderful quotes. Lots of very famous, very sophisticated and well-reasoned people said some wonderful things about gratitude. Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote, "I awoke this morning with a devout thanksgiving from my friends, the old and the new." Ralph Waldo Emerson was kind of the philosopher who kicked off the New Thought teaching. There's another guy. He was Emerson's handyman around the house and later borrowed the property that Emerson owned that had Walden Pond on it, Henry David Thoreau, who said, "I am grateful for what I am and have. My thanksgiving is perpetual." These are uplifting and wonderful ways of describing and explaining and exploring gratitude, thankfulness. Norman Vincent Peale said, "The more you practice the art of thankfulness, the more you have to be thankful for." And that is the law of attraction in action. The more we are what we are, claim what we want to be experiencing, the more of it we get to experience. Melody Beatty said, "Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow." All sorts of ways to think about these things, about gratitude and different aspects of it. It's possible to approach it backwards. Thomas Merton wrote, "Those who are not grateful soon begin to complain of everything." And we've seen that too, hopefully, in other people rather than ourselves. Be thankful for what you have. You'll end up having more. If you concentrate on what you don't have, you will never, ever have enough. And that sounds kind of familiar, and that's from Oprah Winfrey, who's also familiar with a lot of these quotes. Every once in a while, God allows you to stub your toe as a kind reminder to be grateful for the miraculous body attached to it. And Gertrude Stein reminds us that silent gratitude isn't much use to anyone. Silent gratitude isn't much use to anyone. Now, you can feel it, and that's wonderful, but say it. Say it, mention it. If there's something that somebody has done or some experience that you've had that has left you feeling grateful, mention it. Say it out loud, give voice to it. Maybe to the person who was involved in you having that experience, or maybe not. Maybe just say it to somebody who's around. That's another example of that law of circulation being activated. By feeling it, by expressing it, by giving voice to it, we're inviting in more of it. And we get to do that. Gratitude is actually a step in practical prayer. It's the second to last step. Once we've gotten through the business part of the practical prayer, where we're claiming the newness that we are desiring in our lives, we immediately go to a step of gratitude, thankfulness, where we settle into that feeling of gratitude for already having that good that we're seeking. And that's how it works. Your mind doesn't know whether the thing that you're claiming is something that you already have or something that's just been created in mind and is now on its way to being experienced. There's no time and no timeline there. So once you have a sense of the good that you're claiming, we settle into gratitude. Our friends at Agape, Michael Beckwith's community out in Los Angeles, they actually have a 6-step practical prayer. They start with gratitude and then do gratitude as the second to last one as well. Because you know what? You can't overdose on gratitude. You can't do too much of that. Being aware of what we're grateful for is wonderful and it is important. Meister Eckhart said, if the only prayer you ever say in your entire life is thank you, it will be enough. That's the truth. If the only prayer you ever say is thank you, it'll be enough. John F. Kennedy said, we must find time to stop and thank the people who make a difference in our lives. Have you ever gotten a thank you note? And you say, they didn't send a note. You said, oh, that's so thoughtful. They sent a note because they really appreciate what I did. They took the time to put a stamp on that emotion. Go to the card store and get that. It's a little something. It's a little gesture, but it is an amplifier. It's a megaphone on that feeling of thankfulness that we have. Go ahead and feel that feeling of gratitude inside yourself one more time. Feel where you feel it. See if it feels the same. See if it feels different. When it comes to the life, the critical thing is whether you take things for granted or take them with gratitude. There's a gift in front of you. You can assume that it's yours and not pay any attention to it. Take it for granted. Or be grateful to have that goodness show up. Voltaire said, appreciation is a wonderful thing. It makes what is excellent in others belong to us as well. Another way of saying that is never let the things you want make you forget the things you have. Lots of different ways to think about gratitude, what we can be grateful for, where we can be grateful from. Have gratitude for all that you have and you can be happy exactly as you are. Ooh, I could be happy the way I am now? Really, there's those other things that I want to have happen in my life, they don't have to happen in order for me to be happy? Well, it's certainly nice when the happy things come along. We don't need them. If we can be grateful for things that we have now, then we can be happy without having anything in our world change. John Quincy Adams said, gratitude, warm, sincere, intense, when it takes possession of the bosom, fills the soul to overflowing, and scarce leaves room for any other sentiment or thought. Overflowing with gratitude. We can invite that as an experience, overflowing with gratitude. Can you do that? Can you let everything else fall away and allow the gratitude to overflow? So it turns out that there are some enemies of gratitude. What's the opposite of gratitude? It's ungrateful. So, thankless. And there aren't really antonyms for gratitude. But there are ways that we can undermine gratitude. And it turns out, somebody suggested there are 7 bad habits that undermine gratitude. And the first one of them is self-pity. When we're sitting there feeling how miserable we are about whatever it is that's going on, and we're pitying ourselves, that undermines our opportunity to experience gratitude. Complaining is another one. And complaining is the closest that there is to an opposite for grateful or thankful. When we're complaining, we are pointing out exactly that which we don't like and describing that in great detail. Does that sound like a prayer? That's a prayer for what you don't want. Similarly, there's comparing, where we see what somebody else has and compare it to what we have and then decide what the difference is. And usually the difference is what's missing for us. Another one that can sneak up on us is isolating. It is completely possible to live our lives with our phone and our iPad and our computer and our internet connection and go through life without ever making contact with other people. We can be completely isolated. And that leaves us all to ourselves, and that has a strong tendency to undermine gratitude. Another one is pace. I had to double check that one. It's actually hurrying, rushing, going too quickly. We've heard the phrase, stop and smell the roses. Well, running past the roses, you're not going to smell them. And if you do stop and smell them, then maybe there's just that moment of, this is so delightful, and it's right there where I happen to be. And by stopping and smelling the roses, we have an invitation to have that wonderful new experience. And if we rush past, we don't. I think one of the biggest ones is an attitude of entitlement. If I think that I deserve all the good stuff that I have, then I don't have to be grateful for it. And that's not true. That's the opposite of what we've been talking about and what a lot of the authors have been talking about in the quotes. If we think that we deserve all of the good, then when we don't get it, we get to be upset. That's where the complaining and the comparison and the self-pity come in. So, a wonderful spiritual bit of advice is don't do that. As Bob Newhart said, stop it. And the last one is a lack of sleep. It is when we're tired, when we're overtired, when we're overtaxed, when we're under-resourced, then gratitude and that ability to experience thankfulness is one of the first things to go. Another deep breath in. Once again, anchor yourself in that feeling of gratitude and thankfulness. There's a great quote. I'm just thankful for the people that never left me, and equally thankful for those who did. Being grateful does not mean that everything is necessarily good. It just means you can accept it as a gift. Let gratitude be the pillow upon which you kneel to say your nightly prayer. That was Maya Angelou. Let gratitude be the pillow upon which you kneel to say your nightly prayer. We can complain because rose bushes have thorns, or rejoice because thorns have roses. So your perspective has a lot to do with it. Brene Brown summed up the whole thing about entitlement by saying, what separates privilege from entitlement is gratitude. What separates privilege from entitlement is gratitude. Yeah, you sometimes have to repeat Brene Brown. Mother Teresa said, the best way to show my gratitude is to accept everything, even my problems, with joy. And possibly my favorite. Piglet noticed that even though he had a very small heart, it could hold a rather large amount of gratitude. That's from Winnie the Pooh. And of course, you have to capitalize very small heart. So there is the possibility to have gratitude in any circumstance and in any situation. That is certainly possible, even though sometimes it's not easy. Emma Curtis Hopkins said, this too is good, this too is God, this too is for me now, and I demand to see the blessing in it. And that is the precursor to gratitude. When I see the blessing in it, then I am open to a feeling of thankfulness and gratitude, even though this experience to begin with seems to have sucked. Or to be spiritual, sucketh. To be able to look at something that sucketh and say, this too is good, this too is God, this too is for me now, and I demand to see the blessing in it, and open up to the awareness of the blessing, makes way for gratitude. Oh, it's in Scripture too. Rejoice always, pray without ceasing, give thanks in all circumstances. And that's basically the instruction to rock our Christ light. Rejoice always, pray without ceasing, give thanks in all circumstances. That's an entire spiritual life in a sentence. When we can do that, everything else kind of falls away. So remember that you can get back to that feeling of gratitude and thankfulness in your body, in your life, at any moment. And each of the times that I said, focus on where you have that feeling of thankfulness and gratitude in your body, I didn't say what you were supposed to be thankful for. Give thanks in all circumstances. Bring that feeling into everything that you are and everything that you do. And game on. You are a blessing, and I am grateful for you. So it is.